Hello, welcome to SwitchedOn Gaming. Paul speaking, and today is a very special look at something that's very dear to my heart, and that is the Epyx Sports Collection. Now, it's going to be a funny video this, I think, because if you're of a certain age, like myself, then you probably either had these games or will remember them, or at least seeing them will bring back some nostalgia. If you're a modern gamer, you're going to be looking at this and going, what the hell is this? So, I don't know, stick with it. Let me know what you think down below. But yeah, so this is coming out on the Nintendo Switch. This is a pretty obviously named collection of sports games from Epyx. All from around about the Commodore 64 era. As I say, I had all these. I mean, this one, some of the games here, 84. I don't think I had my Commodore in 84, though it probably wasn't far off. But I would say I probably had my Commodore 64 in 86, but obviously picked up all these games. So these are a compendium of games. We're going to go through them pretty quickly. We're going to have a look at each one and have a look at a couple of the sports. And then what I'm intending to do is have a bit of a longer look at each of the collections and sort of play through them in a bit more detail so you can see what they're like. So we've got a bit of a game here that sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's Championship Wrestling. The rest of the games are compilations of multiple sports, and then you've got Championship Wrestling here for some reason, which, spoiler alert straight off the bat, is very much the weakest of the collection. It's not a very good wrestling game, and I've played most wrestling games from back in the early to mid 80s onwards, and this is a stinker. The rest of them though are good, and we're going to start with summer games. Now, presentation wise, we'll probably talk a little bit more about it, but I think they could have done a little bit more. It's not terrible, but I think it would have been really nice to have some kind of history of the games and a little bit more. But we've got a couple of things here. You can inspect the box, which is quite nice. You can turn it around and see the back of the box. I would say these probably aren't the original boxes. Certainly don't remember them being like this, but whatever they are, they're really nicely done. You can rotate them around, really nice lighting on them, and you've got some nice back of the box blurb and some screenshots. So really nice. You've also got an instruction manual. Again, I don't think, and if anyone from the developers or publishers are watching, feel free to correct me, but I don't think this is the original instruction manual. But given how complex some of these games are, and you used to get no in-game instructions, you know, it's very unlikely. This is absolutely invaluable to have this instruction book, which tells you how to play each of the sports, some tips, what buttons to use. Really, really good. So that's really impressive. But apart from that, presentation wise, that is your lot. So as I say, feels like they could have done a little bit more. I'd have happily sacrificed Championship Wrestling if it meant they could put another, you know, few hours into upping the presentation a bit. But there we go. So you're probably sick of this Olympic music by now, but this is what the opening ceremonies used to be in the game, so it's quite nice. Get the athlete lighting the Olympic torch, and then you get the doves flying off. So that was quite common for these games back in the day. You may have seen as we were clicking through there, this is for 1 to 8 players on the Switch. There's no online functionality, it's just local multiplayer, which isn't the worst. Would have been nice to have online, I guess, but it is what it is. World records, again, I don't think this is online, this is just local. Doesn't seem to save either, which is a bit unusual because I've played some of these events, but not sure about that. So the other options there, you can practice an event, you can compete in one event, which I think puts your score on the leaderboard, or you can run through all the events. We're going to compete in one event. We're just going to look at a couple of them. So right off the bat here, entering your name. If you get this game and don't know how to, it's the left bumper button, brings up the keyboard. Just put in my name. Can't even spell my own name, that's not a good start. And delete doesn't work. Interesting. Okay, let's pressing the wrong button. That's on me. Put in your name, put in your country, and then you'll get a really moody, listen to this, spectacularly moody rendition of the British national anthem. If you don't want to put any more players in, just press the B button and you can move on. So these are the events in Summer Games 1. Got pole vault, platform diamond, 4x400 relay, 100 metres gymnastics, freestyle relay, 100 metres freestyle and skeet shooting. Now some of these events, now you've got to remember back in the day that we had one joystick and one button. So it's really good to have the instruction manual because, so you can bring it up. Yeah, you can bring it up at any time. You will need, for example, for gymnastics. Actually, gymnastics isn't too bad. I think in Summer Games 2, like the pommel horse, some of the moves you need are incredibly complicated. Okay, so gymnastics is pretty straightforward. But basically, yeah, you've got one button and a joystick, so it relies on a lot of combinations of joystick direction and a single button press. What should we go for first? We'll go for the 100 metres dash. Not my favourite event, and I'll tell you for why on the Switch. Because back in the day, we had these joysticks that were made of, well, titanium and rubber, and you used to, just the nature of them, I think, lent itself to these games. You used to basically, well, what was known at the time as waggle the joystick left and right. Oh god. Yeah, used to waggle the joystick left and right, and it kind of lent itself to that, which is quite cool. But on a Nintendo Switch with a little tiny joystick, it's very difficult. I'm still going to win, am I? Oh, he's stopped at the line for me. But we've got a world record there. And those crazy lines at the side, again, if you're of a young age, that was indicated that games were loading back on those old sort of computers and consoles. Computers, really. And as I say, I'm not going to go through every sport here. Very difficult, especially when I'm recording, because there's a slight lag in my recording software, but you get the idea. Go around each of the stations and try and get your reticle over the ski. And you know, this is one of those events, doesn't really rely on needing fancy graphics. You know, it's, I think if you had a skeet shooting mini game now in an Olympics game, you would probably use the same control method and it wouldn't look too dissimilar from this. So a good event. I like that. Let's have a look at Summer Games 2. So Summer Games 2, 85 this came out. Triple jump, rowing, javelin, equestrian, high jump, fencing, cycling and kayaking. Plus optionally include events from Summer Games 1 for the Ultimate Challenge. Interesting. So you can include the Summer Games 1's events. That's cool. Got a closing ceremony with this one as well. You can also choose to compete in some events, so you can pick from a range of events rather than just competing in one or all. Stick our name in there. So look at the, or listen to the American National Anthem, see how close they got this. Not bad. Better than the British one, which is completely out of tune. So, triple jump, rowing, javelin, equestrian, high jump, fencing, cycling, kayaking. Again, bit of a mixed bag, some of these sports. Some are better than others. Let's go with... Try something that isn't track and field. Let's go rowing. Oh, I see I'm the red one at the bottom. Oh, okay, so we do need to pick up the pace of it. Wait, there we go. So again, very simplistic. Left to move your oars back, right to move them forward. But again, you can't just go crazy. It's got to be done in the right rhythm. But also can't go too slow because you'll stop. So nice and easy to control on the Switch, this one. Not going to hammer your joysticks like the 100 meters and give you stick drift. So very nice. I do like the fact it's got world records as well. This is all we had back in the day. We had like, you know, get your mates or your cousins or whoever around the TV screen and compete in sports and see who can get the best times and stuff. I used to play these sort of games for absolutely hours. We will do fencing. Sounds quite fun. And again, it takes, you know, you imagine back in the day, so 86, what is that, nearly 40 years ago. So if you're looking at this thinking, it looks awful, believe me, back in the day, we thought this was like photorealistic. But say this collection won't be for everyone at all. I mean, I think if you've got any interest in nostalgia, no matter your age, then it's worth picking up. If you're of a certain age and remember these games from back in the day and got no other way to emulate them, then I think you're going to be pretty misty-eyed over seeing some of these games. Ooh, nice hit. But yeah, it's interesting how the graphics have moved on. I would almost say, let's move on to the next game while we're looking at this. That, to me, Summer Games 2 feels very, very much like a Commodore 64 game. Where Summer Games 1, the first one, I don't know, it didn't seem to have that stereotypical Commodore 64 look, where Summer Games 2 definitely does. So I wonder if Summer Games 1 was an Atari game, maybe? Atari sort of 800? Anyway, Winter Games, October 85. This was released ahead of the 88 games in Calgary, so they got in well early for that. Figure skating, free skating, speed skating, hot dog aerials, ski jump, biathlon and bobsled. I never used to like the winter games as much as the summer games. Something about slipping around. And again, the graphics here, this screams Commodore 64, the way these graphics are. Which probably isn't surprising because it was released on the Commodore 64. Ooh, an icy opening ceremony. Nice touch. Biathlon is a nice event. That's sort of skiing and then every so often doing some target shooting. So that's quite a cool event. Can drag on a bit though. Speed skating, figure skating, I imagine would be, let's have a look at the instructions. I imagine that would be quite heavily involved. Yeah, so got a lot of controls there. Again, remembering you've got one joystick and one button. Got to try and map it to a range of controls. So that would be quite tricky to control, I would think. Ski jump, free skating and bobsled. Bobsled sounds quite exciting. Let's have a look at that. Shame it hasn't got a straightforward skiing. I enjoy a good skiing game on the old systems. Horace Goes Skiing and those sort of games. Whoa. Yeah. Is that run over? I guess it would be run over. Oh, we get another attempt. Well, we've gone further than we did last time. I'd imagine the higher up... Oh, steered the wrong way. I'd imagine the higher up you go on the ramp, the faster you're going to go. We have one more run. Looks like from the map, it doesn't take long to get through a run and steer the wrong way. So that's quite a good game. That's in terms of controls, it's kind of... you've got very limited time to pick a direction. So I guess if you memorise the layout, you'd you'd be better, which, you know, realistically the competitors would know the layout of the race. And as I say, then you're getting into the skill areas of the higher up you dare push yourself on the ramp, the faster you'll go. We'll do one more winter event. Let's try... I really want to try the biathlon, but I know it's long. But as I say, if I do another video, I'll go through all of these events on each of the collections and showcase them a bit more. Let's go. Oh, yep. So you've got to keep your mini... Oh, yeah, you've got to keep your mini figure in the top right-hand corner. Balance with that combination of button presses. 244, so left to lean back. Oh, come on, that was looking good. Right, final attempt. No. Again, bit of practice, that'd be quite fun. I think a lot of these games are going to be really good in multiplayer as well. So that's that one. That's Winter Games. Now, World Games. September 86. Now, this is a collection of mini games from around the world. I mean, I had all these games, but I vividly remember World Games and California Games particularly. But World Games, I'll talk to you about that in a second. So, Russia for weightlifting, Germany for barrel jumping, Mexico for cliff diving, France for skiing, nice. Canada for log rolling, America for bull riding, Scotland for the cable toss, Japan for sumo wrestling. So I remember vividly getting this game one Christmas. Must have been 87-ish, 87, 88, something like that. And again, if you're of a certain age, you're going to sympathise, and this is going to ring some bells. But genuinely, this game took 45 minutes to load. And that wasn't even... I mean, if I tell you that loads in the main game from a tape, and probably the first event, I would think. But if you wanted to do another event, or after you finished one event, you would have to load the next event, and then that was like another 15-20 minutes of loading. And I just remember this game just taking so long to load. Oh my goodness. Let's try cliff dive. Oh, we're doing some events. Yeah, let's try that. We'll do cliff dive and slalom skiing because I mentioned it earlier. But yeah, I used to quite enjoy World Games. The worst thing about it was the loading. Some of the events are quite tricky as well. So cliff diving in Acapulco. So up and down to choose the height, action to start, and then straighten out with the stick as you dive in. Pretty straightforward. So you can choose what ledge to jump off. We're going to go for the highest one. Oh, gone too early. Oh, it's going to end in death. Somehow it doesn't end in death. Oh, that was nice. Ah, head planted. Ouch. There's a fault for that as well. That was a nice looking dive though. So I'm watching the minimap on the left. Before. Oh no! Belly flop. No. Fault as well. 3 faults. But again, I think one of the nice things that I was looking forward to about this was that, you know, you could play through these events and World Games particularly and not have, you know, 20 minutes of loading. So we're off to Chamonix, in France for slalom skiing. Imagine the controls for this would be pretty straightforward. Oh, yeah, need to keep... Oh, that's harsh. Need to keep a nice tight angle to get the speed up. Oh, hit the flag. But yeah, World Games was hard. Remember the caber toss and the log rolling being particularly hard. Sumo wrestling. But again, a few mates, these games will come alive. So that's World Games. Now this is one of my favourites now. We're going to ignore Championship Wrestling. I'll show you it towards the end. But California Games, this was one of my favourites. Being a big fan of all things American, this was great to have this back in the day. 87. Collection of, if you've not seen this before, collection of American surfer kind of games. Hacky sack and frisbee and surfing. Rollerblading, I think, if I remember rightly. Let's just put in a random name, something a bit shorter. Tom's sounds like an American California name. So yeah, half pipe, so skateboarding, footbag, or hacky sack, I think they used to call it in this game. Surfing, skating, BMXing, flying disc, and done. Surfing, I remember being really hard. So you try and ride the wave. Oh no, too sharp. You got to hit those. Hit the brake at an angle to do tricks, so get some speed up. I should have picked hacky sack as well. I used to like hacky sack. It's basically, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of flick ups. You got little. It used to be all the rage in the 80s as well. You used to be able to buy them over here when it got really popular. But little kind of leather balls with like little leather bean bags. But yeah, it used to be really cool games to play, kicking them around to each other. So the disc, hold stick left and then flick it right to throw, and then you've got to try and, if you look at the top, you've got kind of a map, and I'm moving the other person, you've got to try and catch it. I used to love this event. I'm not going to get it. You can dive to catch it. Catch it, you get a lot more points. No. First time I played this the other day, I caught it first time. Don't think I've caught it since. Right, final attempt. You don't have to dive to catch it, but it looks cooler. I know I'm going to miss that. Go for these last two. So we've got the games winter edition and the games summer edition. So these were kind of, I consider these as spiritual successors to winter games and summer games. Came out a couple of years later than those earlier games on the Commodore 64, and these were, I would say, enhanced versions graphically. Than the earlier Epyx games. So this one came out just in time for the Winter Olympics in '88 then. So luge, cross country, figure skating, ski jump. Ski jump again is a bit of a shame. Slalom, speed skating, and downhill. Let's have a look at one more. Let's have a look at luge would be quite interesting. Although again, I can imagine it's kind of being a 3D looking down at your legs kind of view. Let's have a look. Oh, different tracks. So steering around the bends, trying to keep it straight, not tip over. I admire the two games, and we'll have a look at the summer one next in a second, but I do admire how they tried to change it up. It wasn't just like your basic, you know, they tried to move it on from the kind of side view of track and field and hyper sports and Daley Thompson's decathlon, those early sort of side-on only games. They did try and move these games on, for better or for worse, trying to use some more advanced graphics, I guess, and some advanced techniques. So yeah, that's Winter Games, or the Games Winter Edition, I should say. And we've got the Summer version, which has got diving, parallel bars, rings, hammer throw, velodrome cycling, hurdles, pole vault, and archery. Some of these events are kind of a lot more complicated in terms of controls. So archery is pretty straightforward, what you'd expect. So yeah, diving, you've got all these different dives that need different joystick controls. Hammer throw, pretty straightforward. Now look at this. The rings, the diagram of possible event sequences for the rings. Absolutely not a clue. And then same parallel bars. It's like a science lesson at school. No idea how they expected people to control this and understand it. But as I say, they for better or worse, they did try and move these games on. So we've got an Olympic Village. Let's try archery because that's a pretty straightforward one. So archery, we've got the wind with the windsock there, so you have to take that into account. Pull back for power, and then you're kind of aiming on the top left with that reticle, but you kind of want to wait for that wind to die. So it's very strong now. Right, that's to me, so I'm going to aim a bit higher. Ooh, good shot. 9 out of 10. So because the windsock turned towards me, I knew it was going to take some power off my shot, so I aimed higher to compensate for the drop in the arrow. Nice, another good shot just as the wind dropped. And then final shot. Again, wind's towards me. I'm going to aim quite high. Oh, 3 really good shots. A 9, a 9, and an 8. That's a good score. And then that is your total score for the event. So yeah, so the games, they were a bit more advanced than the earlier Epyx games. Now, Championship Wrestling, I really struggled with this one. And again, it comes with instructions like the other games. So all your different moves, all the different characters are all there. Wrestlers, obviously, I take on wrestlers at a time. So obviously we've got KC Colossus, who's Hulk Hogan, and Purple Haze always seems to get in games. Colonel Ruski. Howling Manslayer against the Berserker. So yeah, even the presentation isn't the greatest, but again, 86, I think. These games tend to be. And that's your lot. that's pretty much my experience of wrestling. Didn't seem to be able to kick out of any pin attempts. So yeah, as I said, not the best of the collection, and certainly one that they could have left out. I think, given that the other games are compilations of sports games, I think they could have left Championship Wrestling on the mat and just launched without it. Would have been fine. But there you go. It's a bit of a longer look than I thought, but that's the Epyx Sports Games Collection on the Nintendo Switch. It's out now, so check it out in the store. If you've got any questions, let me know below. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.